Good morning. Welcome once again to my home. This is Lisa Walker. I'm about ready to do our 60-minute series that we teach at Kindness. We call it Signature. It's also called Kind Hot. This is the non-hot version, obviously, unless you just turn your temperature up in your home for about an hour. Give yourself a little bit of a warmer practice. And trust me, I've done that before in the winter. It feels amazing. Unless you're not a hot lover. I seem to love the heat. I apologize, the video's so far away, but it's the only way that I can get the entirety of my mat on the screen with my computer. So at this time, this is the best I've got to offer. So just real quickly, before we get into the practice, I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing with fear. Fear is becoming the thing that's leveling our playing field right now. We're seeing a lot of people responding not only with fear, but to fear. And they're responding in different ways. We've got people who are responding in a way that involves hoarding, or what I'm calling my ability to be a consumer during the COVID response. I think my fear has been around food for whatever reason. I'm fortunate to have plenty of food, but every time I go to the store to pick up one thing, I see other things and I think, oh, I might as well grab that because I might need it later. So how are you responding? How are you doing with fear? This book I've been reading, When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron, her very first chapter talks about fear in the midst of things falling apart. Fear comes up when we're asked to be, as she says, nailed in place. When there's no escape, when there's no place to go, nowhere to turn, except for, in our case, our computers, maybe our video games, our movies. These are distractions. Distracting us from fear of the unknown, fear of death, fear of this invisible thing that seems to be sweeping our world and leveling us out into what we now know to be a common human race. Commonality in our respiratory system that is responding to this unseen virus in the same way that our neighbors would. To recognize that it's our similarities, that not our differences, that bring us this distinction of human. So I just ask you to feel into your fear, rather than trying to run away from it or numb it out or distract it, to feel into it and recognize that it's okay, that it's normal to feel this fear, especially in this time of uncertainty. But when we allow the fear to rule us, that's when we spiral into this space of chaos, this space of distinguishing ourselves different from one another, when in actuality we are all the same. So just feeling into the fear, because this comes up also on our yoga mat when we are practicing. We notice that there's fear that arises in particular shapes, in particular poses, especially in balancing and strengthening. So recognizing the fear, warming it, wrapping it in our arms, and then just allowing ourselves to let it go, to go somewhere else, to feel the fear, and then to notice the courage, the bravery, the strength that you have within yourself to sit with the fear and realize that it's just one part of who you are and what we're going through. It's not the entirety. So let's feel the fear together as we move through our mats, and then feel the courage as you explore your bodies and your breath today. So take a tall, comfortable seat. I'm sitting on a blanket here, just kind of folded in half. You can sit onto a block, your heels, maybe even just in a chair if that feels more comfortable. And then as you sit nice and tall, feel your spine lengthening. Notice your natural curves here as the tailbone gently kind of curves out and the low back curves in. And then we feel the the thoracic spine, the rib cage, and up to about the shoulder blades, kind of bowing out slightly. And then the cervical spine creates a little concave, a little inward curve. So just notice that we're not trying to create this rod-like structure of a space that is meant to curve. Just feeling support of your musculature. Allow the shoulders to move away from the ears. Sometimes they really like to be up by the ears. Just bring them down. Maybe even a couple of circles with the shoulders. And then from here, just begin to breathe in and out through your nostrils. If you're stuffed up like I am, just breathe in and out gently through your mouth. Allowing your inhalations and exhalations to begin to lengthen and equalize. Rather than feeling the inhales deeper or shorter than the exhales, find an equality in this action. Eyes can be closed down, or maybe just a soft gaze forward. Let's see if I can move just a little bit closer. I'm imagining that I see all of you out there looking back. And we'll add some gentle movement to this breath with hands by your hips, palms facing forward. Inhale, lengthen, reach your fingertips to the sky. As you exhale, palms turn down and release. Allow the fingertips to touch. Inhale, reach your arms up. And exhale, palms down, release. Take 3 more. Lengthening and releasing. Just beginning to connect your breath and movement. Last one. Pause for a moment, hands to thighs. Set an intention for your practice today, whatever it might be. Maybe it's just exploration of fear. Maybe it's just exploration of your practice. Whatever it is, take a moment to set your intention. And then take a deep breath in. As you exhale, roll forward onto all fours, moving into a tabletop position. Begin to align your wrists underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. Spread your fingers nice and wide onto the mat. And then from here, find a neutral spine. As you inhale, cow pose, gaze forward, shoulders glide back, tailbone lifts. And then exhale into cat. Draw the belly in, round your spine, tailbone tucks. Look behind you. Inhale, lengthening your spine, draw your gaze forward. And then exhaling into cat, round it in, belly pulls in. And just move through a few rounds of cats and cows here. This is also a great time to invite some organic movement, maybe shifting your hips from side to side like you're just wagging your tail. Maybe you shift your hips back towards your heels, lengthening your spine. Whatever movement feels good, just beginning to undulate your spine gently, warming up the body. If you're doing this practice in the morning as I am, you're unwinding after a long sleep, hopefully a long sleep. So we're a little stiff. So really feel where the tight spots are. Then hands slightly in front of your shoulders, tucking your toes, belly and hips high, downward facing dog. And keep your knees bent a lot here and just walk out your dog. Pressing through your finger pads, hip bones high, spine is long. Begin to find more space from fingertip to armpit. Allow your elbows to dial in towards each other. And feel your shoulders wrapping around the back. Head begins to hang heavy. Belly in, the low belly, space below your belly button. Press your hip bones high. And then release your heels towards the floor. They do not need to touch here. In fact, most of us can't touch our heels fully to the floor when we're in a longer stance. Belly up and in, hip bones high. Deep breath in, gaze forward. Exhale, step to meet your hands, Uttanasana, forward fold. Now, if you have a block here, this is a great place to use it. Otherwise, you can place your hands onto your shins. Little bend to the knees as you're just finding your feet. Rocking forward and back. Noticing if you're in your toes or your heels here. And then as you begin to hinge a bit deeper forward, if you need to bend your knees in order for your hands to touch down, keep your hands lifted and begin to straighten your knees a bit more. So we're feeling the tailbone reach back and coming forward more into the heels. We want to feel the legs straighten. So the stretch is right here in the belly, the muscle of the thigh, rather than the knees or the hip joints. So once we find our forward fold that feels like we're getting a stretch into those hamstrings, we'll inhale for halfway lift. Nice long spine, shoulders slide back, tailbone pressing towards the back wall. And then exhale, release, round it in. Keeping the low belly in, inhale, find a halfway lift. Notice if your low back is arching quite significantly. Just press the tail so we lengthen, crown of your head forward. Exhale and lower. Take 2 more. Lengthening as you inhale and contracting and releasing as you exhale. Beginning to notice that this practice of yoga is simply about finding space through expansion and contraction. Doesn't matter if you're super flexible or not. You can keep your knees bent here. Coming into a ragdoll, release the stretch from your hamstrings. Moving into more of a low back release here by bending the knees, resting your chest onto your thighs. Rooting down into your feet, release your elbows. Inhale, rise. Reach your fingertips towards the sky. From here, interlace your hands at the base of your skull. If this is too much in your shoulders, you can keep your hands lifted and just grab onto the left wrist. So as we inhale, we're going to lengthen. As you exhale, arch towards the right. So, like I said, you can grab onto the left wrist, lengthening through the left side body, or hands behind the head, widen through the elbows, armpits hollow out. Press down firmly into the soles of your feet. Draw the low ribs in like you're trying to knit those low ribs in towards each other. Pressing your head back rather than pulling your head forward. Inhale, come back to center, nice and tall. Exhale to the left. Once again, you might reach your right arm up, holding onto the wrist to get a deeper stretch, releasing some of that tension in the shoulders. Wherever you are, find more length and lower rather than trying to crunch deeply into the left side. So really finding that space on the right. Inhale back to center. Bend your knees. Lift your chest, elbows into cactus. Find a baby back bend. Belly up and in as you lift. Inhale to lengthen, fingertips high. As you exhale, Utkatasana chair pose. Bend your knees and shift your hips back. Arms release parallel to the mat rather than up next to your ears. From here, gently draw your arm bones back and away from your ears. Low belly is in that space below your belly button. I'm going to be cueing that a lot, so really feel that engagement. That's supporting our low back. Pressing into your heels, imagine that you're squeezing in on a block, so your inner thighs and shins become really active here to support the midline of your body. Stay with your breath. Inhale, release, coming up onto the balls of your feet. Lift your heels really high. Release your elbows in line with shoulders for cactus arms. Low belly and ribs drawing in. You can stay here, heels lifted high, working on your balance. Or if you want, you can bend your knees. Imagine once again you're squeezing that block so that activates the midline of your body to find more balance. As you bend your knees, maintain your alignment of shoulders over hips, hips over heels. Allowing your hips to descend towards your heels. They don't need to touch. Keep drawing the belly in. And inhale, release, coming up nice and tall. Reach, reach, reach. And release, heels to the mat, hands to your heart. Moving into figure 4, we're going to shift into our left foot. Bending your knees, place your right ankle onto your left thigh. Flex your right toes, and as you exhale, bend your left knee and shift your hips back. Hinge forward, allowing the shoulders to draw back. Press your thumbs into the heart. Almost finding a lift in the chest like a cobra. Shoulder draws back, collarbones nice and wide. Stay with your breath. Now there's many variations in this practice. If you've done this with me before, then feel free to take your variations. I'm going to stick with our position 1 throughout this practice today. And then as you exhale, release, lower your right foot down. And just shake it out. Other side, shifting into your right foot, bending your knees, left ankle to your right thigh. Flex your left toes. As you exhale, bend your right knee and shift your hips back. Hinging forward over your right thigh. Belly is up and in, shoulders back, pressing your thumbs towards the heart, palms towards each other. So really stay active in the back and shoulders. Maybe you're taking a variation, or you're just staying with me in position 1. Feeling the stretch into the outer left hip. And inhale, release. Lower your left foot down, shake it out. Take a turn to the top of your mat. Inhale your arms up. As you exhale, step wide and right. Pivot your toes out. We'll just warm it up. We're moving towards a horse stance. Shifting side to side. Maybe you're dipping shoulders to opposite knees. Oh, I got a nice little pop in my back there. Just continuing to take care of our bodies, warming up, stretching through the inner thighs, down into the calves. And then coming back to center, take a comfortable stance with your feet. Sometimes if the feet are turned too far out, our balance is a bit more precarious. So nice angle to the toes. And then hands to heart, inhale. As you exhale, bend your knees, settle your hips between your thighs. Shoulders move away from your ears here as you press the soles of your feet more firmly down into the mat. Now energetically move your shins towards each other like you're squeezing onto the flanks of a horse. If you've ever been horseback riding, feel those inner thighs and shins active. We're opening through the inner knees. A lot of times we buckle the knees in. I want you to see if you can activate those inner thigh muscles and widen here. So we really feel that engagement. Hands can be at the heart or into cactus. Maybe you're taking eagle arms. Wherever you are, just find that shape where you can settle in. Maybe we sit the hips a little deeper. You can lift your heels or your toes here for a little bit more challenge. Maybe shifting your arm position. Just finding the shape that works for you. Notice if your tendency is to tuck or scoop your tailbone forward. Remember those natural curves. Feel the low back, that nice arch in the low back. Just gently feeling your tail lifting. And then exhale, release, press your heels down, hands to heart, pivot your feet forward, step your right foot to meet your left. Prayer twist is next, so hands to heart, deep breath in. Exhale, bend your knees and shift your hips back. Left elbow towards your right knee as you find your twist here. Left hip draws back, so you want to feel the hips fairly level. A lot of times that back knee will pop forward. Just draw it back. Now notice if you're lifting your elbow to place it onto your thigh, how does that feel in your breath? Maybe the elbow feels better placed between the knees and we widen through the belly and the shoulders, but we're still able to breathe. So very important to maintain your breath. Can take some options here if that's part of your practice. Like I said, today I'm just going to stick with position 1. I'll do another video later that shows the variations. Deep breath in, exhale and unwind, come back to center. Stay low, really feel those quadriceps working for you, almost like we're skiing down the mountain. Hands to heart, take a deep breath in, exhale, right elbow towards the left knee. Find your twist here. Right knee draws back, feel the alignment. Watch the head here. Sometimes we dip the head low because it allows us to get deeper into the twist. Bend your knees more and maybe not take such a deep twist. We want to keep the head a little bit higher than the hips here. Promoting circulation, activation of the breath. And slowly unwind, come back to center. Inhale, lift and release. Hands to your heart, heels to the mat. Taking Garudasana Eagle, you might place blocks on either side of your feet if you have them. You could also just rest your toes as a kickstand onto the mat to help support you in this balance. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, right elbow underneath your left. Bend your knees, lift your right leg high and cross your left thigh. Squeeze your thigh bones together. Draw your right hip back. Now maybe your toes are onto the mat, but keep a bend into that left knee. This is going to help give you a little more space. That low belly pulls in, lift shoulders up over your hips so you get a little taller in this shape. Squeezing thigh bones, squeezing your arm bones. If this is too much on your shoulders, then just do hands to heart. From here, you might stay or crouching eagle, flying eagle if that's your part of your practice. Once again, I'm just going to stay in position 1 today. And if you're flying, draw your leg back in, rewrap, and we'll all unravel together. Let it go. Shake it out. Other side. Lifting or inhaling your arms up. Exhale, left elbow underneath your right, left leg lifts, cross your right thigh. Bend your right knee. Once again, find that bend. Left hip draws back to level us out in the low body. Belly up and in. Lift those shoulders up over your hips. Squeeze your thigh bones. Squeeze your arm bones. Really feel this compression. Take your variations if you're choosing to do so today, or stay with me here in position 1. Really feeling the length and balance. The compression of this pose, really key. And then if you're flying, draw your leg back in, we'll rewrap, and then unwind. Shake it out and let it go. Whew, nice job. This is a little short hydration break. If you'd like, grab a little water. And then we're gonna move into our balancing sequence here. Dandayamana Janya Shirshasana, standing head to knee. Shifting into your left foot. Your right knee lifts, aligning your knee and your hip here. Flexing your right toes, interlace your hands around your shin or underneath your thigh. As you inhale, shoulders draw back and nice and tall. Press into the sole of your feet. Feel the weight of your body equally planted here, so really activating the left hip muscle. Stay here, or you might take a variation if that's part of your practice. Once again, we're going to stay in position 1 today. Really working on alignment. I want to get a little taller as I press my shoulders back and my belly in and feel down into my left foot. My kneecap is lifting. My thigh muscle is so active here. My kneecap can't help but be drawn up towards my thigh. And slowly release and let it go. Shake it out. Other side, shifting into your right foot. Left knee will lift. Flex those left toes. Interlace your hand around your shin or underneath your thigh. As you inhale, shoulders back nice and tall. Press down into the sole of your foot. Belly up and in. Shoulders are back as we get taller in every balancing pose. Notice if you're leaning back into your heel. It's very common because there's less sensation. So move your weight so it's more equally in the entirety of your right foot. Take your variation if you haven't done so already. And then we'll slowly release. Left foot lowers down and shake that out. Padangusthasana. Shifting back into your left foot. Right knee lifts, right fingertips outside of your knee. Your left arm is in cactus. As you inhale, lengthen. Exhale, right knee to the right wall. Press down into your standing leg. Get nice and tall. Activate your quadricep. Kneecap is lifting, widening through the inner right thigh. Shoulders draw back. And of course, our low belly's in. Really feel your core from the pubic bone to your sternum active here. A little back bend if you'd like. Your heart will lift, your gaze will lift. And exhale, draw the left knee back to center, aligning with your hip, right or left hand to your outer right thigh. Inhale to lengthen, and then exhale, begin to twist here. Moving your right hand back if you'd like, or keeping your right hand onto your hip. Feel your core moving first. So really feel the twist of the belly. Watch that right hip, it likes to lift up. Keep it in line with the left hip. And slowly unwind, come back to center, and right foot lowers down. Other side, shifting into your left foot. Right knee will lift. Left knee will lift. Right arm is in cactus. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, left knee, left wall. I do this all the time in my classes. Get the lefts and rights mixed up. Press down into your standing leg. Low bellies up and in, lengthening your spine. Once again, feeling your quadricep active, core active, shoulders back, lifting up through the heart center. Maybe you stay, maybe you take that little back bend, feeling the heart lifting up towards the sky. And releasing your gaze forward, left knee back to center. Your right hand moves to your outer thigh, left hand to your low back. So you inhale, lengthen. Exhale to twist. Now sometimes people will place their hand on their shin. What I've noticed is that we tend to hinge forward when we do that. We want to keep the spine long, drawing that left shoulder back and away from your ear. Maybe you reach your left arm back. Lower your left hip to align with the right. Maintain this alignment here. And slowly unwind, come back to center, left foot lowers down, and let it go. Dandayamana, Dhanurasana, standing bow. Shifting into your left foot, left arm next to your left ear, right hand down by your hip. Kicking into your hand, inside or outside of your arch. Maybe holding onto your ankle. You can always hold onto your clothing. If you have a strap, you could use that here as well. Lower your right arm parallel towards the mat. Left arm, draw your arm bone back. Inhale to align your knees. Exhale, kick. Kicking into your hand. Hips staying as level as possible, and then lengthen from your pubic bone all the way to the collarbone. So really feel spacious in the front of the body. As you're kicking, you're lifting using that right thigh muscle. Feeling the length as your right knee reaches towards the floor. Taking this to whatever space feels good. And then release. Right foot lowers down. Let it go. Other side. Right arm next to your right ear, left hand, palm facing up. Kicking into your hand inside or outside of your arch. Lowering your right arm parallel, arm bone back. Inhale to align your knees. And exhale, kick. Lengthening through the front body. Belly up and in. Finding that space. Reaching through the left knee towards the floor. Front of the body is nice and open. And release. Left foot lowers down, let it go. All right, from the top of your mat, take a quarter of a turn towards the side. Extended side angle, inhale your arms up, exhale step wide and right to pivot your right toes to the back wall. Left foot turns in. And actually, if you're facing me, your left foot's actually going to be forward and your right foot will be back. That way we're on the same side. Inhale your arms parallel. As you exhale, left hand reaching, bending into your left knee. Place your forearm onto your thigh. Right arm reaching up and over your ear. Now press the outside edge of your right foot down, lifting through your inner right thigh. Notice if you're hanging out here, this is very common. Press that shoulder back. Draw your right hip back and sink a little deeper. Reaching your right arm next to your right ear. stay, or maybe a half a bind, reaching your right arm behind your back, widening through the collarbones, staying nice and open here. Maybe gaze to the sky or to the floor. Notice how your neck feels, your cervical spine, but that back leg is really active. Pressing into the soles of your feet, release your bind, and your right arm lifts you back to center. And pivot your left toes and your right toes out. Or just take the opposite side. Inhale, your arms parallel. Exhale, right hand reaching, bending into the right knee, forearm to your thigh. Reach your left arm up and over your ear. Press the outside edge of your left foot down. Sink a little deeper, draw your right hip back. So really want to feel and notice that that right knee is staying stacked over the shin. Low belly is in, and maybe rotate your chest up. Pressing through the outside edge of your left foot, inner left thigh. Maybe you're taking a bind here. Keep those collarbones wide. Releasing your bind, soles of your feet pressing in, lifting your left hand to draw you back to center. Pivot your right toes parallel to your left or slightly pigeon-toed for Prasarita. Inhale, your arms parallel. As you exhale, heart lifts and hinge. Nice flat back, hands reaching down towards the floor. Allow your head, neck, and shoulders to relax. Inner thighs are engaging. Draw those kneecaps up. Low belly draws in. Hinging forward. Feel this nice inversion here. You can take this to wherever you'd like. This is your forward fold. Maybe you're grabbing opposite ankles. Maybe your sinuses are starting to get stuffed up. Whatever is happening in this forward fold, just invite it in. No worries here. A little shift of the hips from side to side if that feels good. Feel those hips aligning over the knees and knees over the ankles. Inhale, find a halfway lift. So nice long spine here, shoulders draw back. As you inhale, rise all the way to center. Pivot your feet forward and step your foot to meet the other at the top of your space. Moving into Tula Dandasana, you'll step to the middle of your mat. As you inhale, hands to heart. Exhale, right foot steps forward, left heel lifts, pressing the sole of your left foot back, belly up and in, shoulders back. This is balancing stick, even right here. So if you're happy here, stay. If you'd like to go more towards a warrior three, begin to teeter forward until you feel your hips are aligned, your heel is pressing back. Warrior three pose, arms reaching forward. Make sure your core is active to support your spine and your heel is pressing back, supporting your low back. You should also do arms back to fly. As you inhale, release, bend your right knee, step your left foot back and wide. Heel toe your right foot wider, giving our hips room to move. Right hip moves back, left hip moves forward, pressing through the outside edge of your left foot so your back leg gets really straight and strong. Reaching your arms up to the sky, pinky fingers dialing in, nice tall warrior one. Deep breath in. And exhale, hands to heart, hinge forward over your right thigh and lower your left knee down. Now you could place a blanket under your knee if you'd like to. From here, shift your hips back into tabletop. Draw your right toes back towards your shin and rotate onto the edge of your foot. So the knee is actually now out towards the side. Hands up on fingertips here. Belly is up and in. As you exhale, press your hips back and your heart towards the floor. Nice stretch the outer right hip and down into the IT band. Outer hip. If you're feeling this in your back of your thigh, then open up your knee by bending your knee more, shortening your foot. So bring that foot closer in towards your body. Such a nice stretch. And then as you exhale, release, heel toe your right foot forward, coming into just a little lunge here. Be here just for a breath or two, but as you lunge forward, keep the rib cage drawing back rather than pushing forward. So we're not compressing the low back. We want to keep the low belly in, move from the hips, shifting forward, maybe even hinging slightly so we get a flatter back, not a flatter back, a longer line. We want to keep the belly in, just protecting and honoring the curves of the spine. If you want, you could reach your left hand back for your toes to go deeper. And then shift your hips back, finding half splits. Heel toe your right leg forward, flex your right toes back. Really anchor your heel down and feel your thigh bone draw back towards your hip socket. So this connection creates a deeper sensation into the thigh. And the more you push your heel down, the more you're going to feel this kind of light up the back of your leg. So we don't have to straighten our leg out fully to get a stretch. I keep a bend, but my heel is pressing in. I'm drawing my leg back like I'm trying to drag it on the mat, but it won't move because my heel is anchoring me down. And then step your right foot back to meet your left, downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, step to meet your hands for a forward fold. Inhale here, exhale. Inhale, root to rise, circle sweep your arms up and out to the side, and hands back through your heart. Take that step back to the middle of your mat. And I'm going to turn to face the camera just so you can see that nuclear pigeon pose from the front and also our warrior one. So inhale with hands to heart. As you exhale, your left foot will step forward and your right heel lifts. Pushing your right heel back, core is active, finding whatever works for you, whether it's toes down or maybe you're lifting more towards warrior three. Remember, as you push your heel back, hips are level here, teetering forward. Maybe you reach your arms forward or back to fly. Hands can always stay at your heart here as well. Take care of your shoulders and your back. Bending your left knee, step your right foot back and wide for warrior one. So heel toe your left foot a little wider here. This gives the hip some room. Right hip comes forward, left hip dials back, bending more into the left knee, straightening that back leg, press the outside edge of your right foot down. If this is too much in your low back, lift your back heel and bend that knee so we're moving more into a crescent lunge rather than our warrior one. So always go into the shape that feels the best. My mat is not the best. It's not quite sticky. And then as we dial our pinky fingers in, which you can't see my hands, but my pinky fingers are dialing in here, lengthening through the front of the body. And release, hinge forward over your left thigh, framing your left foot. Lower your right knee down. Just drawing the hips back so you find that tabletop position. Flexing your right toes, begin to rotate from your hip onto the edge of your foot. Hands are nice and wide here. Inhale to lengthen, and as you exhale, hips press back, elbows out to the side. So a lot of times we want to round and drop our head. I invite you to keep your shoulders back and your gaze to the top of your mat. This will help increase the sensation into the outer left hip. Such a nice stretch here. And then releasing, heel toe your left foot forward, interlace your hands, get nice and tall, and shift your hips forward. Finding that nice stretch into the right quadricep. Watch the rib cage, lead with the hips here. Honor those curves. Reaching back for your foot if you'd like. And then release, shifting your hips back, heel toe your left leg forward, finding those half splits, pressing your heel down, plug your thigh bone back towards your hip socket, maybe even tuck your toes and align your knee underneath your thigh. Sometimes the tiniest little shifts in a shape create such a difference in the sensation. Notice where you're feeling the sensation in your body. As I push my heel down, I'm dragging my heel back like I'm trying to pull my leg in, but it won't move, just encouraging that stretch to the hamstring. And then as you exhale, step your left foot back, finding child's pose. Knees are wide, big toes touching, reach your arms forward, forehead to the mat. Take a few deep breaths here. On your next inhale, come into a plank pose, top of a push-up. You can take this shape however you would like. You could be up on your hands or onto the forearms. I always start by pressing my heel back. So I find the length of my legs first. So it's lifting up, imagining there's a block between my legs, and then tipping my pubic bone slightly towards the belly button. So I really lift my low abs. Now pressing down into your finger pads, lengthen, broaden the shoulders rather than collapsing here. Broaden, press down, gazing forward, heart forward. Now if your knees are down, that's totally a great option. I always recommend here that we lift the feet though if you're taking knees down, and just move your hands slightly in front of your shoulders and shift your weight forward. Draw the belly in so you really feel your core activated even with knees down. You've got that support of being on the floor, but now you're really activating the core. Thighs are drawing in towards each other as well, so we're feeling that engagement of the inner thigh muscles. Take a deep breath in whichever plank that you have. Deep breath out. Usually we hold our plank pose for about a minute. So this might be less than a minute, it might be more, because I neglected to time it. So we're just going to assume that that's 1 minute, and then slowly releasing down. You could bend your elbows, taking your time. If you're in this full variation, just keep the elbows in towards the sides as you descend, shoulders away from your ears. Take a moment here on your bellies, just a little rock of the hips from side to side. Stay with your breath. Of course. I'm going to take a deep breath in here. Moving into cobra pose, hands underneath your shoulders. Thumbs are kind of in line with your nipples here. Elbows in towards your chest or towards your ribs. Untuck your toes and really reach your tops of your toes towards the back wall behind you. Press all 10 toenails down into the mat, lifting your kneecaps. Exhale, belly in. And then inhale, lift your chest and shoulders without the aid of your hands for baby cobra. Drawing your chest forward, shoulders back here. Really draw those elbows in to help lift. Notice the tops of your feet are pressing in. See how much your glutes are helping you here, and see if you can release just a little bit of the muscular action in the booty. Belly is up and in. Inhale, lift a little higher. And exhale, release. Turn your head to one side. Hands down by your hips. Interlace your hands at your low back. You could hook your thumbs here, palms to the sky. Spread those fingers wide. Just give a little tug on your thumbs here if the interlace of the hands doesn't work. You could also just reach your hands towards the back wall. From here, feet are still in that same position. Press the tops of those feet down. Exhale. And then inhale, lift. Keep a little bend to the elbows as you reach your arms back so we're not straightening fully. Inhale, lift a little higher, and exhale to hold. Press the tops of your feet down. Inhale, lift a little higher, and exhale to hold. And slowly release. Press your hips back for child's pose. Once again, knees are wide, big toes to touch. Couple of deep breaths out your mouth. As you inhale, come forward onto all fours and just make your way down onto your backs. As you lie back, checking the time, As you lie back, take a moment here to really just enjoy gravity. So nice. Arms can be out to the side. Maybe you just windshield wiper your knees from side to side. And then drawing your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a little hug here. We'll do just a little bit of core work this morning. So knees over the hips, shins are parallel, feet are flexed like you just fell out of a chair. Interlace your hands behind your head. Press your low back into the mat. So you want to feel this space between your hips and kind of down to the bottoms of your ribs, pressing down into the mat. If this is difficult, move your knees in a little bit closer so you really feel that grounding of the low back down. From here, keep those toes flexed. Imagine you're squeezing a block. If you have a block, I highly recommend using one here. As you squeeze in, press your low back down. Exhale, lift chest and shoulders off the mat. Inhale, right elbow towards your left knee, right heel lifts. Exhale, come back to center. Stay lifted. Inhale, left elbow towards the right knee, left heel lifts. Exhale, back to center. Keep pushing the low back in. Inhale, lift, right elbow to the left knee, right heel lifts. And exhale, back to center. Inhale, left elbow to the right, left heel lifts. Exhale, back to center. Continue on your own. Take about 3 more on each side. And really notice if you're moving just your neck and you're crunching, or if you can lift as you exhale, and as you inhale, twist. So really using the obliques, or using the QLs on the side bodies, pressing your low back down, your inner thighs are active here. So really feeling the entirety of your core involved here. So we're getting into the lower region, the mid region, and the upper region without compromising the neck. So notice if you're really pulling your neck forward and your chin is touching your chest. Imagine you've got an orange between your chin and your chest and you're trying not to drop it. I think we all remember that little game from when we were kids, or maybe not anymore. And then slowly release it down, do something that feels better. Take a stretch here. And draw your knees back in towards your chest. Little rock from side to side. Allow your left foot to release down to the floor. Keep your knee bent. Draw your right knee in towards your chest. Interlace your hands behind your right thigh, just closer to the hip than the knee here. And then as you press your right heel to the sky, keep your foot flexed, press your thigh into your hands. So you're pushing your leg away from your body rather than pulling it towards you. So we're not trying to get a big stretch to the hamstring. We're actually going to allow the right hip to release towards the floor as you press your thigh into your hands. So we're really active in that right leg. Left foot is pretty neutral. And as you feel this alignment of your thigh bone over your hip, visualize your thigh bone moving towards your hip socket. So really feel that right hip lower. What we're doing here is beginning to realign our sacrum and create some space in the low back. Really nice low back release here. You can always extend your left leg out if that feels good for you and you get a little bit more. I always feel I get more of that rooting action of the thigh into the hip when I keep my knee bent. And then move into a supine twist. So as you bend your right knee, press your left heel into the floor. Lift and shift your hips to the right. Extend your left leg and draw your right knee over to the left side. Rest your right foot onto your calf or your thigh, maybe onto the floor. If you have a block, it's a nice option. Arms extending out. Lift and shift your left shoulder blade out from beneath you. That should help level out your upper back. If you still find this right arm is really lifted here, got some shoulder tightness here, you could place something else under your right thigh. Or what I've found, if you have no shoulder issues, dislocations in the past, or rotator cuff, take your right arm next to your right ear. Reach your right fingertips long, so lengthen through that right arm. As you exhale, draw your right shoulder blade down and your right arm out to the side. So really feel that you're tucking the right shoulder blade beneath you, almost like you're trying to hide your wing back behind you. Breathing here, feeling your right hip move away from your right rib, so just pressing the right hip away. And then inhale, slowly unwind, come back to center. Bending your left knee, realign your spine here, hips are level. Draw your knees back in towards your chest. Little rock from side to side here. And we'll take the other side. Right foot lowers down, keep a bend to your right knee, interlace your hands behind your left thigh. Press your heel to the sky, flexing your foot. Thigh pressing into your hands. Feel the alignment, once again, thigh bone over the hip. Once you feel that, lower the left hip towards the floor by encouraging your thigh bone to reconnect into the hip socket. Now, of course, we have really big muscles in the thighs and the glute muscles, so we can't really force this action. It's allowing. We're releasing and allowing the thigh bone to move closer to the hip socket. Feel that space you're creating in your low back. Really great. I always say this is a good pose if you're going through the museums or, farmers markets. I've even had a student tell me she found great relief in a hike when her back was aching. She did this pose and she got a couple more miles out of her hike. Moving into your twist, lowering your left knee in, pressing to the right heel to lift your hips to the left. Straighten your right knee, draw your left knee across your body. Extending your left arm out to the side, right arm out. Now lifting the right shoulder blade to realign the upper back. Once again, if the left shoulder is still lifting, feeling tight in the pectoral or the armpit, reach your left arm up towards the back of the room next to your ear. As you inhale, lengthen. And exhale, arc your left arm out to the side, tucking your left shoulder blade beneath you. So you really feel that little bit of a tuck. And then shift that right shoulder over to the side. Nice twist here, left hip pressing away from the bottom left rib. And then slowly unwinding, come back to center. Realign your spine here, level hips, spine is level. Draw your knees in towards your chest, a little rock from side to side. Happy baby, reaching your hands up for your feet. You can grab the outer edges of your feet, maybe the inner edges. If when you grab your feet, your hips lift or your shoulders lift, then please grab onto your ankles or your shins or even the backs of your thighs. All we're doing here is just a final realignment and release of the spine before we find our final Shavasana pose. Shavasana is the most important shape where we integrate all of the movement and the work that you've done here. Maybe you're rocking side to side. Maybe stillness. Press the low back down, the shoulders down. Really feel that alignment. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Inhale, forehead to knees, creating a tight little ball. And as you exhale, release. Final Shavasana, arms and legs extending out to the sides, palms facing up. Maybe a blanket across your hips here. Really nice way to ground. If it's chilly, I'd recommend a blanket across your body. And maybe even blocks or bolster underneath your knees here. Whatever resting shape gives you the most ease. Shavasana is about Finding restful awareness, a reset. Shavasana translates to corpse pose or dead body pose. And as an opposite of meaning something negative, it's a symbol of rebirth. A time when we can reconnect to our breath, to feel the weight of our bodies heavy through gravity, bringing your awareness to the bones, the breath, even your heartbeat, noticing the blood coursing through your veins, the pulse, various parts of your body. A recognizing of the beauty of all of the aspects of the body. Feel free to rest in Shavasana as long as you would like. I'd like to read a little bit from When Things Fall Apart, Heart Advice for Difficult Times. Pema Chodron writes, "We're getting to know fear. Becoming familiar with fear, looking it right in the eye, not as a way to solve problems, but as a complete undoing of old ways of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and thinking. The truth is that when we really begin to do this, we're going to be continually humbled. There's not going to be much room for the arrogance that holding on to ideals can bring. The arrogance that inevitably does arise is going to be continually shot down by our own courage to step forward a little further. The kinds of discoveries that are made through practice have nothing to do with believing in anything. They have much more to do with having the courage to die, and the courage to die continually. Not necessarily dying in that physical sense, of course, but dying in the sense of our ideals, dying in our beliefs, dying in what we believe to be true, awakening to what is, to the present moment, exploring not only what feels good, but what doesn't feel so great. Having the courage to see both sides of the coin. My friends, stay here as long as you like in Shavasana. I thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that it allowed you to open up a bit in your body, in your mind. If you have any comments, please feel free to post them below. And I'm working on a channel right now. I've got a Twisted Tree Yoga channel, so I'll put that link as well if you want to check it out. These videos are also posted there. So thank you so much. Enjoy this beautiful Thursday day, afternoon, evening. I love you all. Stay safe, stay courageous, and stay connected. Namaste.